To give birth to an heir to a wealthy family, she endured immense suffering. First, she disinfected her abdomen. Then, she underwent acupuncture to prepare her uterus for the best condition. After this, her whole body was swollen. Jiyoung felt as though she had nothing left to live for. She had abandoned everything to marry into a wealthy family. But after marriage, she became a caged bird. She had to get approval from her mother-in-law for everything she wore. If her mother-in-law wasn't satisfied, it all had to be redone. Her thoughts were never considered. She thought her husband would stand by her side. But to her surprise, Youngman thought it was all quite normal. After all, they weren't young anymore. Doing a checkup was expected. But Jiyoung was a career-driven woman. She had married into a wealthy family for a stepping stone. But instead, she had become a bird in a cage. Watching her husband finish in 3 minutes, she silently took out her birth control pills, went to the balcony, mixed them with wine, and swallowed them in one gulp. She once thought that money could bring happiness and joy. But now, each day felt like walking on thin ice. Afraid that the next wrong move would get her kicked out, she stubbornly promised her mother that she would never regret it. Now, it seemed that Jiyoung still missed the days with her first love. In the end, she could only bitterly smile to herself. The next day, Jiyoung found herself strangely standing downstairs at Junyu's building. Looking at this familiar place, she almost shouted out. But to her surprise, she was spotted by Junyu's mother. She was told to leave immediately. Every second she stayed was an insult to Junyu. However, Jiyoung had some things she needed to say. She really wanted to know how Junyu was doing. She wanted to know if his condition had improved. There was no reason for this feeling. She simply felt a desperate need to seek forgiveness from him. Junyu's mother just wanted Jiyoung to never appear again. Everything else was unnecessary. Junyu's pain could never be compensated. Junyu's mother didn't want to forgive Jiyoung at all. If she had any conscience left, she should feel guilty. Jiyoung recalled the cruel words she had said to Junyu. She thought to herself, am I really a selfish person? I wonder how Junyu's life is now. Little did she know, Junyu's life was far better than hers. Every night, he had Jinju's loving company. Only work-related issues were troubling him. Rich people have rich people's problems, and the poor have their own worries, because a rival company sabotaged them. They had stolen all their employees. Junyu decided to stay at the company, working overtime every day. Jinju also wanted to help but was immediately stopped by her mother-in-law. She couldn't bear to see her precious daughter-in-law suffer. But as soon as the mother-in-law left, Jinju followed her. Not knowing the exact address of the company, Jinju used a heavy-set person as cover to sneak in. But when she reached the entrance, she didn't know what excuse to use to get in. This scene was spotted by her aunt. She was shocked to see Jinju standing there. Jinju asked her aunt to let her help. She promised that if she changed clothes, no one would notice. The factory needed help, anyway. Her aunt took Jinju to the back. She had to pack everything in order and put it into the box. Everything had to be correct, because it was going to be delivered to a client. Her aunt rushed out quickly, fearing her sister-in-law would suspect her, leaving Jinju, who hadn't heard everything clearly, to struggle. She worked all afternoon, thinking she had done something important for Junyu. But the next second, Junyu came in to inspect the goods. After checking, everything was packed wrong. Jinju stammered, afraid that Junyu would find out. She didn't care anymore. She grabbed a random box and ran out. Junyu wondered why the company hired a foreigner. Little did he know, it was his beloved wife. At that moment, Aunt finally couldn't sit still and started to confess. She was afraid Jinju might ruin everything, and that would be a big mistake. She searched everywhere but couldn't find Jinju, so they had to ask Junyu. Junyu recalled the foreigner he had seen earlier. Only then did he realize it was Jinju. He saw shoes behind the car, awkwardly hiding. Junyu shouted for Jinju to come out. Neither the mother-in-law nor Junyu wanted Jinju to do dirty work at the factory. Since there were no opportunities at the factory, Jinju planned to solve the company's problem fundamentally. She heard that traditional rice cakes were the current trend, and the Art Institute was recruiting students. The next day, Jinju came to visit with homemade Vietnamese cakes. She was confident she could learn everything. Once she learned, Jinju could help Junyu make big money. However, this was exactly what the artists hated. Moreover, Jinju was Vietnamese. She would never give the skill to a foreigner. At the same time, Jiyoung also arrived. The company was pushing forward with the healthy cake project. She also wanted to learn the soon-to-be-lost skill. Though her gift was precious, she was also kicked out. The next day, Jinju volunteered at the restaurant, hoping to change the teacher's mind. But the teacher thought Jinju was someone who would never stick around. She wouldn't last long. Since she was free labor, the teacher wouldn't drive her away. She would leave on her own soon enough. But just as Jinju was cleaning, Jiyoung walked in with the chairman. Her biological father is right in front of her, but the woman doesn't recognize him. She politely greets him instead. Only their voices make both of them feel a sense of familiarity. Pearl greatly envies Ji-young for having such a kind father. She must be living a very happy life at home. Little does she know, the chairman is actually Ji-young's father-in-law. Whenever he has time, the chairman takes out his past memento of love. He wonders how the mother and daughter in Vietnam are doing. His former lover has developed serious eye problems. Pearl has come to Korea to find her biological father, the chairman. She just wants to meet him before her mother loses her sight. So many years have passed. Junyu tells his wife to be prepared. The man is either a heartless one or already deceased. No matter which, it won't end well. But Pearl firmly believes he's still alive. As long as there's a glimmer of hope, she'll bring her father back. She doesn't expect to stay with him forever, she just wants to fulfill her mother's wish. That evening, Junyu gets a call from a stranger. The caller claims to have a way to help Pearl find her father. It turns out Junyu had signed up for a family reunion show. After several rounds of selection, Pearl's request caught the attention of the producers. At this critical moment, however, his mother wasn't so willing. Junyu had just started a new job with an overseas company. Plus, there were 2 unmarried older sisters at home. If the whole family went on the show now, in a small place like Korea, the neighbors would surely gossip. Soon, everyone would know they bought a Vietnamese daughter-in-law. It could affect the children's futures. Junyu didn't expect his mother to object. He didn't want to make things difficult for his family. Instead, he took Pearl to the family reunion show by himself. Junyu took out an address from 20 years ago, hoping that someone with information would contact them. Pearl stood on stage, nervous and excited. She had never called someone father in 20 years. She never imagined she would express her feelings in this setting. When Pearl was 1 year old, her father left them. She had forgotten what he looked like, but Pearl believed her father hadn't forgotten her. The lullaby from her childhood still echoed in her ears. That voice must have belonged to a kind person. Pearl's mother still holds on to the promise from 20 years ago. Even if her father now has a family, even if there are unspeakable secrets, she still hopes her father will meet her mother in Vietnam. Her mother might only have a few months left to see him. Her only wish is to see the man she loved before she goes blind. That would give her peace of mind, even in death. Junyu's mother was also extremely upset when she learned the truth. She never expected Pearl had gone through such hardships. She thought her daughter-in-law simply wanted to find someone. Junyu comforted Pearl, telling her not to be too sad. The show would be broadcast nationwide. If anyone knew anything, they would definitely contact them. Sure enough, the TV station soon called. The person with information lived in Sukchadon. That was the place where Pearl's father used to live. But the situation needed to be confirmed in person. That evening, Pearl's mother called. Her mother told her not to worry. Director Kim is treating her well. The store has some business. She just needs to take care of herself outside. Pearl reassured her mother not to worry. Her family is treating her well, and she will soon find her father. Her mother instantly felt a little better. She's looking forward to meeting her husband again. She had kept that promise for 20 years. Now, her mother just wanted to know he's well. She didn't dare ask for anything more. Junyu's mother also urged her son to help Pearl find her father. It was something the whole family hoped for. The next day, Junyu took Pearl to their destination. On the way, Pearl made up a goodnight song, hoping to sing it to her father when she met him. They soon arrived at Jong Yufian's house. Inside the house, Pearl found a photo. She thought it was her father, but it turned out to be Jong Yufian's husband. Pearl's father was someone else. They were just paid to do a job. It turned out that 20 years ago, they were doing business in Vietnam. There was always a mysterious person who needed help carrying money. After 6 months, the mysterious person said they had an incurable disease. They might not have much time left. So, they gave them a large sum of money to carry. Pearl could have lived a carefree life, but unexpectedly, Yufian's husband lost it all. They were afraid the mysterious person would cause trouble, so they returned all the letters they received. Now her husband is dead. There's no point in pursuing it anymore. Pearl refuses to believe her father is dead. Junyu calmly took out the clues he had, and began confirming them with Yufian, but it had been so long, she couldn't remember clearly. Since these things were handled by her husband, Yufian only contacted them out of guilt. If her father is really dead, she doesn't know if her mother can accept the reality. Junyu comforted Pearl, saying her father did it for them. Maybe he is somewhere quietly missing them. Pearl could only reluctantly accept the reality. But unexpectedly, the next evening, Yufian came looking for them. She had searched through all the magazines in Korea and finally found him.
여기 있어. 바로 이거.
It wasn't until she saw the man in the photo that the woman realized her father was one of the men in the photo. They quickly contacted Yufan, who had helped send the money back then, to find out who he really was. To their surprise, it was the man in the photo who had received the money. That confirmed Pearl's father had passed away. Yufan felt incredibly guilty. Pearl's father must have been on the verge of death at the time, yet they still used the money for gambling. Yufan hoped Pearl wouldn't be too heartbroken. Your father must have had his reasons, but when compared with the photo from Pearl's mom, there was barely any resemblance between the two. Maybe it was just because the photo was so old, so they decided to send the photo to Pearl's mother in Vietnam. Her father must have stayed in the hospital, but only her mom could confirm who it really was. At that moment, Pearl's mother was holding a picture of her daughter and Junyu, thinking that even if she couldn't see anymore, as long as her daughter could live happily, it would be enough. Today, Pearl's mood was like a roller coaster. She had been mocked as a Vietnamese by foreigners, and in Vietnam, she was mocked as a foreigner by the locals. If it weren't for Junyu's family's help, she honestly wouldn't know when she would find her father. Even if her father had passed away, she would never regret coming to Korea. Finally, Pearl slowly fell asleep to Junyu's song. This song was the lullaby her father once sang to her. With Pearl's mind filled with thoughts of her father, she even took ages to wash a piece of clothing. Her mother-in-law saw her in this state and didn't scold her at all. She hurriedly dragged Pearl out to eat something. Sometimes when you're feeling down, eating can help change your mood. In life, there are many people to be grateful for, but the one her mother-in-law was most grateful for was Pearl's love for Junyu. If that person in the photo really was Pearl's father, she decided to bring Pearl's parents to Korea to stay for a while, to let them have a proper meeting. Now, they just needed to cheer up. That evening, Pearl's mother called. She confirmed that she recognized the person in the photo, but that person was only Pearl's father's driver. Pearl's father had once taken that man's car to visit her mother. Now, the only thing they could be sure of was that the relationship between them was unusual. One thing was certain, Pearl's father had not passed away. As long as they could find someone who worked at the hospital 20 years ago, they would truly be able to confirm who Pearl's father really was. The next day, Pearl brought the rice cake she had just learned to make to the hospital. The old director didn't expect that Youngki's father was just a runner. Pearl's father was someone else entirely. She felt deeply sorry for Pearl's situation, and was willing to help Pearl inquire about people from 20 years ago. The next day, she went to the chairman's company. The chairman had once helped her there, and he was also her nephew, and he had a very good relationship with driver Kim. When the chairman heard his aunt was asking about Vietnam, he knew something was wrong. He hurriedly distanced himself from the matter. He hid the fact that he had been to Vietnam. When he heard that Pearl was searching for her father from 20 years ago, the chairman's heart nearly jumped into his throat. He instinctively asked for Pearl's full name.
진주라고 지혜비가 지어준 이름이래.
His aunt's words felt like a sharp knife piercing the chairman's throat. He couldn't even speak loudly, and he couldn't show any unusual emotions. If his aunt found out, it would cause a huge uproar. The whole day, the chairman kept replaying his memories of Vietnam. Back then, he had promised to return after his trip to Korea, but he never expected that woman was still waiting for him. His child even came to Korea to search for him. The chairman tightly gripped the Buddha beads Pearl's mother had given him. A strong impulse surged inside him. He wanted to immediately return and reunite. But when he thought about his current family, and the image he had maintained for all these years, he hesitated once again. Then, almost by accident, he opened the program about Pearl's search. Listening to Pearl's heartfelt words, each word deeply touched the chairman's heart. Tears began to fill his eyes. He didn't expect the little one from the past had grown so big, but he didn't realize his wife was watching. He quickly shut the laptop. He explained that it was something his aunt had asked him to look into. The unfaithful man had worked in the hospital. His wife felt it was normal for a man to have women outside, but abandoning a woman after having a child. She called him a heartless monster. After all, the child wasn't at fault.
난 만약에 당신 저랬다간 그 자리에서 그냥 피터가 확 죽어버릴 거야.
Hearing his wife say this, the chairman's lively thoughts faded away. He was still more concerned about his current family than Pearl. The next day, when the chairman arrived at the hospital, he saw Pearl cleaning. Pearl greeted him cheerfully, just like usual. The chairman was so startled that he almost lost his words. Looking at Pearl's back as she walked away, he almost called out to her. When Pearl brought him the tea, the chairman asked Pearl to sit down and talk about her father. Although her mother had done everything to fill her father's place, selling fish on the streets, cleaning for others, even working as a maid at a pastor's house, Pearl still wanted to find her father. She wanted to ask why he abandoned her after having her, but more than anything, it was to fulfill her mother's wish. The biological daughter is right in front of him, but the Chable father dares not acknowledge her. He can only hide in the bathroom, quietly crying. It seems like he's afraid of others hearing his voice. Then, the chairman rushed to his aunt. He hoped his aunt could provide more specific information about Pearl. The aunt only knew that Pearl's husband had opened a pastry factory. He shamelessly stayed here every day to learn skills, but there was no way he would teach foreign people the skills of Korea. The chairman also wanted to see his husband's profile. This made the aunt suspicious. Since the aunt didn't feel comfortable asking, he had to use his own influence. He hired a private detective to investigate Junyu's personal life and current work. Even if he couldn't acknowledge it, he couldn't let his daughter be with the wrong person. The private detective tracked Junyu for a week. His life was mostly a simple routine. He had a close colleague, but no other flaws. It seemed like Pearl was living a very happy life, although she lived frugally with her parents. The neighborhood relations were very harmonious. Only the pastry factory had no news. The chairman spent the whole night deeply conflicted. He didn't know how to face Pearl the next time they met. Looking at the family portrait on the table, he seemed to have made a decision. At that moment, Pearl's mother provided some clues. She remembered that her husband was the only son in a big business family. He had left Vietnam to inherit the family business. Now, the search was more focused. They just had to find Mr. Kim's acquaintances. See if Mr. Kim had any connections with Chables. Through Mr. Kim's son, they got many contacts from their father's old friends. These people all had one thing in common. They had no idea Mr. Kim knew such big shots. If they had someone helping them out, they wouldn't have lived so poorly. Only the last uncle remembered. The driver had no such friends, but he had an idol he admired. Unfortunately, after 20 years, he had forgotten the person's information. He only knew the place where the chairman frequently went. He also warned Pearl to be mentally prepared. After all, the more you have, the more you don't want to lose. Maybe it's not that the person had no choice, but rather that they never thought of looking for Pearl and her mother. Even if the result is not pleasant, Pearl was determined to find the other party. She didn't care about herself, but her mother had to meet her father. The next day, Junyu took Pearl to the club. but the director had no memory of a person named Mr. Kim. Junyu reminded her that it was probably someone who came with Mr. Kim. The actual person's name was Chairman Kim. If it's Chairman Kim, the director remembered. He had been coming here frequently as a guest. However, they don't inquire about their client's information. Junyu could only ask her to contact him if this person comes. That evening, Pearl held her father's photo and kept looking at it. Although she always used to say she hated her father, she was very nervous when it came time to meet him. Pearl knew she would probably cry non-stop. If her father knew she was a fool who couldn't speak Korean, it would be a bit embarrassing. They decided to practice for the meeting scenario. Junyu told Pearl that when she met her father, she should just cry out. All the grievances of these years would turn into tears so her father would know. At this moment, the chairman was on the verge of being driven mad by himself. He tore the documents about Vietnam into pieces. He wanted to completely get rid of those beautiful memories of the past. The pressure from his family and the company left the chairman exhausted. Even the farewell scene was vivid in his mind. There was also that heavy promise. Pearl's mother had promised that no matter how long it took, she would wait for the chairman to return. It had been 20 years since they last saw each other. He didn't expect that the foolish woman was still waiting for him. That night, the chairman went to his usual place of recreation. This club was his secret hideout. Only Mr. Kim, the old driver, had been there, and no one else knew about it. The director quickly called Junyu. Since Junyu was working overtime at the company, he could only ask Pearl to go and check. Soon, Pearl arrived at the door. She stood outside for a long time, not daring to go in. She didn't know what to say when meeting her father. Finally, she gathered the courage to open the door slightly to see who it was. To her surprise, she bumped into the chairman turning around. The two locked eyes, and the chairman nearly collapsed. The chairman asked what Pearl was doing here. Pearl just wanted to confirm if the chairman was the person Mr. Kim knew. To her surprise, the chairman admitted it. But when it came to sending money to Vietnam, he couldn't answer. Pearl kept recalling her childhood memories. She wanted the chairman to remember her mother's promise. However, the chairman's eyes seemed to make a decision. He denied everything. Although he sympathized with Pearl's situation, he couldn't just call someone dad so casually. The chairman nervously stood up, ready to leave. But to his surprise, Pearl stopped him. She was sure that this was her father.
내가 베트남에 간 적이 없는데 어떻게 아가씨 아버지일 수가 있어? 다시는 그런 오해 없길 바라네.
The elderly woman unexpectedly hears a song from her deceased sister while at work. Though this song is quite popular in South Korea as a lullaby, the lyrics were once changed by her sister. Only the family knew about it, and no one else had a clue. Today, she hears it from a new employee who recently joined. Her aunt asks Pearl to come to the office immediately. It turns out that this song was sung by Pearl's father. Her mother had recorded it on a cassette and given it to Pearl. The tape is still kept at home. It seems that the aunt already knows who Pearl's father is. She asks Pearl to bring the tape tomorrow for review. That night, the aunt suddenly remembers how her nephew once abandoned his wife and ran away to America. Even his wife had no idea what he did. He was gone for 2.5 years. But when she hears the English name Pearl used on a family reunion show, the aunt starts to think that it may not be her nephew after all. The next morning, Pearl arrives with all her belongings. She is asked to step outside with her things while the aunt makes sure of something. When the tape player begins to play the beautiful lullaby, the aunt is certain it's her nephew's voice. She wonders, could it be that her nephew went not to America, but to Vietnam? The aunt quickly grabs the phone and calls her nephew's office. It turns out that Richard Kim is the chairman's English name, not his real name. She rushes to find him. If Pearl is truly her sister's child, she could very well become her successor. The two meet downstairs. The aunt says nothing, but plays the lullaby. The chairman, hearing that familiar voice, is left stunned and speechless. The aunt also presents the chairman's signature from 20 years ago. At this moment, the chairman realizes that everything is about to come to light. The secret he's kept for 20 years is now exposed. The aunt strikes the chairman 3 times with a knife. She resents her nephew for his failures, and even more for turning into a heartless man. If it weren't for that heartless man, she wouldn't have been single for over 50 years. She never imagined such a thing would happen in her own family. It turns out that during that time, the chairman was having marital problems. He had planned to go to America for a break, but the American atmosphere wasn't conducive to recovery. So the chairman went to Vietnam, where he met Pearl's kind and naive mother. He had sworn to spend his life with her, but his sick father, cared for so well by his wife, and his father's dying wish not to divorce, led the chairman to turn his back on the affair in Vietnam. Now, after all this time, he's not going to acknowledge the child. He's at the peak of his career. One little negative story could bring devastating consequences to both his company and family. The chairman begs the aunt not to reveal the truth. Most importantly, not to let his wife hear. But the scene is unfortunately witnessed by his wife. The chairman doesn't want to create family conflict. He informs his wife that some things are better left unknown. Meanwhile, the aunt returns to the hospital. She looks at Pearl's face, so similar to her sister's, and a sense of compassion fills her heart. She tries to persuade Pearl kindly. It's been 20 years since it all happened. Now there's TV and newspapers. If the other side hasn't shown up by now, they've probably just considered the affair a mistake. But Pearl refuses to believe her father could have abandoned her mother. At this moment, her mother, far away in Vietnam, sends another letter. There's been no word from the heartless man for so long. Her mother knows he's probably hiding on purpose. She doesn't want to trouble her daughter anymore. She only hopes Pearl and Junyu can live happily together. As for her, she's old and doesn't care anymore. Pearl knows her mother still holds some hope, but there's nothing she can do about the fact that he's hiding. Junyu tells Pearl to wait a bit longer, even though 20 years have passed. If the man still loves his mother-in-law, he will likely appear on his own. The next day, the chairman brings a large sum of money to the aunt, hoping to find some excuse to give it to Pearl. This is his small compensation for being such an unfit father. The aunt throws a pile of checks at the chairman. What Pearl wants is her father, not money. As for material things, the aunt is already financially free. Could she really be missing this little money for her grandson? When the aunt sees Pearl doing odd jobs again, she feels a strong sense of protectiveness. She asks Pearl to show her hands. Her young hands are already covered in calluses, her brow furrowed with a heaviness beyond her years. The aunt's heart aches as if pierced by fine needles. How has this small frame borne so many hardships? She decides to take Pearl as her disciple. After all, money isn't as important as a skill. Once she masters this craft, she'll be unstoppable in Korea. The woman went to pick up her husband from work, and was surprised to find a beautiful woman beside him. Junyu didn't notice anything unusual about Pearl, and instead suggested they go have dinner together. Fortunately, Junyu only had Pearl in his heart. The two showed off their affection in front of Anjing, making the woman, who liked Junyu, feel very awkward. Today, she had some good news to share with her husband. She had always felt inferior about her background, afraid of falling behind her husband and being abandoned. But now, she had been accepted by the Art Academy's dean, and no longer had to worry about that. Junyu was genuinely happy for Pearl. Since she hadn't told her mother yet, Pearl decided to leave early. And Jing had always been curious why Junyu married such a country girl. They had once been top students among the international students, but it turned out all of this was because Jian made him develop panic attacks. Fortunately, Pearl's presence helped him recover. Otherwise, he would have been useless for life. And Jing thought Junyu married Pearl out of gratitude. So when leaving, she tried to stir up trouble between the couple. But Pearl instead mocked her, saying she was a rookie who never dated before. And Junyu and Pearl were still a married couple. What right did an outsider have to say anything? Finally, Pearl insulted Jing in Vietnamese, and Jing was stunned by this unexpected scene. She never thought this country girl would outsmart her. Junyu didn't take Pearl home. Instead, he went to a store and picked out a bag and a pink notebook. Since Pearl was preparing to study, everything needed to be ready. He hoped Pearl would study like a university student. That way, she wouldn't feel inferior when graduating because of a lack of education. And Jing's words had some effect on Pearl today. That night, she asked Junyu if he truly loved her or if it was out of gratitude. Junyu used to think that passionate love was true love, but after all these experiences, he realized love has many colors. Pearl is surrounded by those varied colors, which makes Junyu feel drawn to her. But Pearl didn't know that an even bigger trial was coming. The next day, she arrived neatly dressed at the Art Academy, expecting to learn something, but instead, her aunt took her directly to the countryside. Her aunt handed Pearl over to a farmer, and told her not to be polite. Just treat her like any regular worker. The farmer threw a woman's clothes into Pearl's hands, and told her to make sure to remove all the weeds from the field today. She had never done this in Vietnam, and now, in developed South Korea, she had to do farm work. Pearl was filled with complaints about the teacher. How was baking related to farm work at all? The entire day, she was distracted. It wasn't until evening that the teacher came to pick her up. Pearl thought the teacher wanted her to quit on her own, and was giving her a hard time. The teacher was very dissatisfied with Pearl's response. She told Pearl to understand the meaning of it and then go back to the academy. If not, she would continue working here, and Pearl would have to take the bus on her own. She would not be responsible for Pearl's transportation. When she got home, she complained to Junyu about what had happened. When Junyu heard that Pearl had pulled weeds all day, he couldn't help but chuckle. It's probably best to let her give up. Junyu's career was on the rise now. Pearl only needed to focus on learning to cook from her mother. He would make a lot of money to bring home, but Pearl still felt a bit unsatisfied. She really wanted to study hard and help her father-in-law's factory. She wanted Junyu to be a happy rich second generation, and Junyu's former girlfriend was so graceful. She wanted to enrich herself to be worthy of Junyu, but to Junyu, Pearl seemed a bit childish, lacking grace and education. But what he loved was Pearl's innocence. Pearl felt deeply moved inside. The next day, she really didn't go back to the field. Instead, she helped at home with the dishes. Her mother-in-law was surprised to see this. She didn't criticize Pearl for giving up on learning baking, but her mother-in-law had also learned crafts at the academy before. Teacher Sue was not someone who made empty promises. Every task she assigned had a purpose. As long as Pearl understood, she would improve. Encouraged by her mother-in-law, Pearl returned to the field. This time, she was truly committed to learning, wanting to integrate into the community and understand the hardship. The farmer generously taught Pearl the skills. The teacher was incredibly happy to see Pearl working hard. She seemed to see her sister's shadow in Pearl. When they returned, the teacher asked Pearl if she understood the lesson. Pearl said that learning baking is like farm work, it takes time. Since Pearl understood the lesson, the teacher told her to come back next week to study properly. knowledge is learned step by step, not all at once. She took out a large sum of money and told Pearl to treat herself and eat something good. This was her way of compensating Pearl, her grandchild. Pearl excitedly rushed to share the good news with Junyu. But it was Injing who answered the phone. She couldn't wait even a minute and hurried to the company. Injing had already prepared what to say. First, she apologized for her rude behavior last time. Then, she brought up Junyu's dream of becoming a businessman. Pearl, though very diligent, was still making progress. But she didn't even know what Junyu specifically did for work. Injing felt that Pearl was a blank slate and didn't understand anything. She was just a burden to Junyu. It wasn't until she saw the pen in her ex-boyfriend's hand that the woman was shocked to discover her first love hadn't forgotten her. But now, she was married to a man with a love-cleanliness obsession. If her husband finds out, everything will be ruined. She thought Junyu would hide like before. But little did she know, Junyu's obsession had already been cured by Pearl. Seeing Jaeyoung remain calm now, just as Jaeyoung picked up the pen to ask a question, her husband happened to walk in from the door. She had no choice but to put the pen down and pretend not to know him. Back at home, Jaeyoung turned to her mother abroad for help. If mom doesn't come back soon, everyone's good life will be over. If it weren't for mom being deceived by a gigolo and losing all her money, she wouldn't have married Yang Maying, a man with a love-cleanliness obsession. Mom never indulged her little temper. If it was really unbearable, she should have divorced quickly. Jaeyoung was instantly cornered by her mom's words. If she didn't want a divorce, she should think of a way to solve it. Right now, what could be used were her brother-in-law and Siami's love. To do big things, one must act first. So as soon as she got home, Jaeyoung revealed Siami's background to her husband. Siami was not only Junyu's real sister. More importantly, their mother was her husband's first love. Yang Maying was stunned. If the two families became in-laws, the relationship would be too complicated. So while his parents were discussing marriage, he took the opportunity to reveal this secret. Yang Maying's mom never dreamed of such a hidden truth. All this could only be blamed on her husband, who had been a womanizer in his youth, which led to their children's marriages being restricted. The chairman thought it didn't matter at all. It was something from 30 years ago, why bother fussing about it? Yang Maying's mom was nearly driven crazy, swearing she would never become in-laws with her husband's first love. When Yangsu showed Siami's photo proudly in front of her mom, it was immediately smashed to the ground, and she unilaterally informed her son he must never meet Siami again. Not even a casual greeting was allowed. Everything was developing according to Jaeyoung's expectations, but Yang Maying's mom still wanted to meet Siami's mom. If both knew each other's identities, neither would agree. That way, breaking up the two of them would be easier. Jaeyoung's worst fear had come true. She immediately sought her mom's help. Jaeyoung's mom intercepted Junyu's mom on the way. She knelt on the ground. Jaeyoung's mom falsely claimed her daughter was pregnant. If Junyu's mom revealed Jaeyoung's past relationships, it would be fine if Jaeyoung died. But the most important thing was the life in her belly. Jaeyoung's mom knew Junyu's family was a bunch of wimps. They would definitely have a kind heart and help Jaeyoung hide it. As expected, Junyu's mom began to hesitate, not knowing whether to reveal Jaeyoung's past or continue hiding it. In the end, Jaeyoung's mom didn't need her. The most important thing now was for Jaeyoung to quickly get pregnant. With a child, even the chaebol wouldn't kick her out of the house. But how could a child come so easily? Moreover, Jaeyoung had been taking birth control pills every day. Yang Maying's body probably couldn't help Jaeyoung conceive. She had pinned all her hopes on Jaeyoung. As long as the mother-in-law didn't meet Jaeyoung's mom, there was still room for maneuver. There would also be enough time to get pregnant. Junyu would never be a simp again. He hung up the phone without hesitation. If he hadn't met Pearl, his life would have been ruined. To this day, Junyu still couldn't understand how someone could be so selfish. Even a dog would be moved if treated this way. Jaeyoung was completely an ingrate. He tightly hugged his wife and swore never to let her go. He also silently vowed to protect Pearl for a lifetime. At this moment, Jaeyoung's mom felt the timing was right. As long as Yangsu was sent abroad, the chance for the two families to meet would be greatly reduced. Although Yangsu didn't like studying and was useless, everyone had a fatal flaw. As long as she grabbed that weak point, the other side would definitely listen. Little did she know, the two young ones had already started digging into the family's entanglements. Yangsu thought her mom didn't agree because of something that happened 30 years ago, but she didn't know that Siami's mom had another hidden secret. But no matter how Siami asked, her mom wouldn't budge. Just as Yangsu was about to leave, her brother Yang Maying walked in from outside. Yangsu shared what she knew with her brother, hoping her brother could help her convince mom to agree. Yang Maying suddenly remembered the day of his engagement with Jaeyoung. When Junyu's mom suddenly saw Jaeyoung losing control, and thought it was Yang Maying's mom who wanted to embarrass herself, he thought, could this all be related to his wife? The next day, during a break at work, he found Junyu alone, wanting to learn about Jaeyoung's past from Junyu. He had already heard from Moonjing that they were classmates. Yang Maying suspected Jaeyoung was the one who hurt Junyu, but unexpectedly, Junyu said that person was already dead. Believing or not was Yang Maying's problem, but he understood. Any man who is with Jaeyoung won't have a good ending. Being vague wasn't what Yang Maying wanted, so that evening, he invited Eunjing out, hoping to find the answers through this junior. Eunjing, upon hearing that Junyu said his ex was dead, felt indescribable joy. This meant she had a chance to rise. Eunjing didn't explicitly say, but told Yang Mayang to ask his wife. No one was more qualified than her. Yang Mayang knew his wife wouldn't speak, so he went to find Junyu's mom hoping to get the truth. When the woman came to the hotel to surprise her husband, before she could find him, she was dragged into a room by Eunjing. Eunjing loved Junyu to the point of madness. Although Junyu married a Vietnamese girl named Pearl, she didn't think this was a problem. As long as she could undermine Pearl's work, she was sure Pearl would give up. After all, Junyu's dream was to become an entrepreneur. Eunjing believed she would be his strongest assistant. Pearl didn't say much. She just hoped Eunjing could take the birthday gifts to Junyu. Eunjing thought that as long as she sowed discord between them, her goal would be easily achieved. But she didn't expect Pearl to be no fool. She knew Eunjing definitely liked Junyu. Otherwise, she wouldn't constantly give her advice. That kept attacking her confidence. When Eunjing arrogantly revealed the truth about liking Junyu just happened to walk in. Seeing Pearl there, he was very surprised. But since he had a meeting soon, he could only ask Pearl to wait on a bench in the front. Pearl walked down the corridor alone. The cold wind stabbed at her heart. It felt like everything was reminding Pearl that she and Junyu were from two different worlds. Before long, Junyu came out and kindly draped a coat over Pearl. There were no buses near the hotel. He knew Pearl had endured a lot on her way here. Feeling guilty, he also told her not to do this again next time. Pearl kept apologizing. She really wanted to do things well, but every time she tried her best, it only caused trouble for Junyu. She was angry with herself, feeling like a fool. This moment highlighted the importance of her maternal family. If Pearl had married close to home, her mom would have comforted her, and none of this would have happened. Then Junyu thoughtfully sent Pearl off to her ride. Watching the car slowly drive away, he felt an indescribable sense of loss. As soon as he returned, he eagerly opened the cake Pearl left for him. When leaving, Eunjing gave Junyu another birthday gift. Junyu didn't think much of it, assuming it was just a colleague's kindness. As soon as he got home, Pearl was waiting at the door. Having someone like this should be every man's dream. As long as there's someone to miss at home, no man ever truly wants to leave home. A woman's sixth sense is always so sharp. Pearl quickly noticed the gift from Eunjing. When she opened it, she was shocked to find 2 rings, and a note with well wishes. Eunjing hoped Junyu could find the life he wanted, not just live miserably every day. Pearl couldn't sit still after seeing this. She immediately called Eunjing, asking her to come out and talk. Now, Eunjing was in the dominant position. She didn't want to meet Pearl, this country girl. It wasn't until 2 hours past their agreed time that she arrived. Eunjing mainly wanted to hear what Pearl intended to do. Pearl took out the gift Eunjing gave to Junyu. As his wife, she wanted to return it. Junyu would never accept such a gift, nor would he accept the well wishes from Eunjing. All of this was secretly done by Pearl behind Junyu's back. Eunjing had long studied the male psyche clearly. No matter how much they loved each other, a man could not tolerate his wife doing such things. Getting married doesn't mean possessing each other completely. Pearl knew that Eunjing was trying to provoke her, and this time, she succeeded. Even without Junyu, Eunjing, a successful woman, would still be liked by many. But if Pearl lost Junyu, she would lose everything. She pleaded with Eunjing to spare her, and stop stirring trouble between them. At this moment, Pearl was like a child hanging on a horizontal bar, unable to climb up, but unwilling to let go of everything she had put in. Eunjing's guesses were not wrong, but she overlooked that these two truly loved each other. The Vietnamese girl had also seen Eunjing's power. Recently, Pearl had been so jealous. She missed the training arranged by the teacher at the art school. Her aunt had been worried sick about her. She knew if she learned the technique, she could walk with confidence. But now, she was being looked down upon by a small employee at the company. The worst part was, Pearl was still disappointing and lost badly. If they could recognize each other, her aunt would want to slap her twice. But everyone had their own troubles. They could only hope her nephew could find himself in the pastry, and realize he's no worse than others. When Junyu called, Pearl, for the first time, chose not to answer. Just now, Eunjing had placed the gift in front of Junyu, which made Junyu extremely angry. He immediately called Pearl out after work. No matter how much they loved each other, they shouldn't interfere with each other's privacy. But Pearl believed that no matter how firm the tree was, it would move. As long as the wind kept blowing, the tree would eventually sway. This was very similar to a man's feelings. Even when they make a mistake, they would always think it was a mere slip-up, unaware that all of this was Eunjing's relentless pressure. The next day, Pearl gathered her strength and went to the art school. She spent a few hours making a rice cake. Her aunt only took one look to know the quality. She had the driver try a bite first. The driver then shook his head. A Vietnamese girl from a humble background attends a high-end event for the first time and uncovers a big secret. Her husband's first love is now a senior executive at his company. Even the chair of the board jokes that her husband is overly devoted. Pearl is already upset today. She rushes forward and gives a light shove, and the board director stumbles and falls to the floor. Holding her leg, the director cries out in pain. Pearl is startled and does not know what to do. People immediately call for an ambulance. Junyu does not expect she will stay in the hospital for days. He is angry inside, but still tells Pearl not to worry. If they cannot smooth things over with the director, his investment will fall apart. Eun Young has already heard it is nothing serious, and that the hospital stay is leverage for more benefits. The director lounges in her room waiting for Junyu to show deference. Gifts and meeting requests are all refused. Only late at night does she let Junyu in. He sincerely apologizes and asks for understanding, but she says Pearl must come in person. No meeting without the person involved. Junyu is furious. He tosses the fresh flowers into the trash. If she wants more compensation, she should just say so. He does not want Pearl dragged into it. If the director had not spoken so rudely, this would not have happened. With nothing resolved, Junyu hides in a bar and drinks. The calculating Eun Young does not hold back, and tells the whole story. She has another motive. Gossip like this will keep coming. If Pearl reacts on impulse every time, Junyu will find it hard to do his job. Eun Young says spouses should support each other, not become obstacles. Her meaning is that Junyu should break up with Pearl, and that she is the right person for him. Near dawn, Junyu staggers home. Pearl sees that Eun Young brought him back, and she tenses with worry. Eun Young describes how Junyu was snubbed by the director, and even buys medicine to help with the hangover. Pearl feels a wave of sadness. She thinks her background has set limits on her. She has not had much schooling, and their values seem out of sync. Tears fill her eyes, and the future looks blurry. The company pressures Junyu again the next day. Everyone believes in this investment, and the director likes his proposal. If Pearl shows up, it should be resolved quickly. Junyu is torn. He cannot stand the idea of his wife being humiliated for his work. Eun Young notices everything, and decides to be the one to push it. Pearl also wants forgiveness from the director. She does not want to be a burden to Junyu. After Pearl's persistent asking, Eun Young gives the address. The director acts haughty like a swan. Flowers are tossed aside without a glance. She even demands Pearl kneel and apologize, saying she might then let it go, for her husband and for love. Pearl makes a choice, but just then Junyu bursts in. He is shocked to see Pearl pushed to this point. He tells the director to think carefully. Even if he gives up the deal, he will not let Pearl suffer. He refuses to believe there is no other partner. The director warns him to think too. Walk out now and the chance is gone. Without hesitation, he leads Pearl away. Pearl still worries his work will stall, and wants to go back alone to apologize. Her panic sounds harsh to Junyu. A self-respecting man will not let his wife be insulted, and that director is just a minor figure. He would rather start over than see Pearl hurt. Everything they have now is what Pearl has fought for. Watching Pearl asleep, his heart aches. Pearl is not asleep. She is worried about him too. Junyu sits by the sea in the wind all night, and makes a decision. The next day he gently drops Pearl at the hospital. Her being safe is his greatest comfort. He decides to withdraw from the project, and apologizes for everyone's efforts. But he will never let Pearl be degraded. He came with nothing and can leave with nothing. Eun Young tries to stop him. Opportunities like this do not come twice. Miss it and a comeback may never happen. He says none of that matters now. Pearl's well-being matters most. Eun Young cannot understand what he sees in Pearl. She says Pearl lacks polish and social savvy, and that she and Junyu are not a match at all. The woman about to become her sister-in-law turns out to be the family's enemy. Right then Ji Young walks in. Sammy is so scared her heart almost jumps out. Looking at this gentle and elegant woman, she feels a chill rising from her feet. That hostile glare leaves Ji Young baffled. Sammy finally understands why they forced Myung-soo to study abroad. If she marries in, those scandals could come to light. Ji Young did not expect Sammy already knew everything. What Sammy hates most is a status-seeking woman. And this woman nearly got her brother hurt. She wants to expose the truth, and ruin this woman's reputation. Ji Young urgently calls security, ordering them to seize Sammy, or not to come back at all. Under pressure, Sammy is quickly caught. Ji Young already holds secrets about Sammy's family. She drags Sammy to her mother's apartment. Only her mother can handle an opponent this easily. As soon as she enters, Ji Mon shoves her. The show of force rattles the girl. She fears Ji Young might do something ruthless in secret. Under their pressure, Sammy explains what happened. She thought her engagement was all because of Ji Young, but her sister-in-law Pearl is actually the chairman's daughter. If Sammy marries Myung-soo, the father-daughter tie will be exposed sooner or later. No one present knows this. Ji Mom only knows the chairman invested in Sammy's family factory. She believes if Sammy upsets the chairman, the partnership will surely be cancelled. Then the factory would face shutdown, and both sides would end up begging on the street. Sammy mistakes the deal as Ji Young's doing, not knowing the chairman secretly did it to make up to Pearl. Now Ji Mom waves it around to throw her weight. She already knows what Junyu's family is like. Sammy will never expose things just to save herself. It feels like endless darkness is closing in. Tears spill from her eyes. Only in her mother's arms does she feel a hint of safety. Back home, Sammy falls seriously ill. Her mother wants to ask if she went to confront Ji Young. Sammy says she only went for a walk, and it had nothing to do with Ji Young. On one side is the man she loves, Myung-soo. On the other is the family who raised her. This choice is painfully hard. Meanwhile, Ji Young's mind is full of Sammy. Without hearing a promise from her, she is on edge every day, and keeps trying to meet and talk. Sammy heads to her family factory. Seeing her father working with energy makes her happy. He added several new production lines and hired more workers. If the factory shuts down for any reason, her father might be driven to despair. Even her mother urges her to give up the marriage. Myung-soo's father is her first love, and the sister-in-law almost left Junyu impaired. If Saemi marries in, there will be no peaceful days. Her mother hugs her gently, hoping to soothe the pain. The next day the chairman reaches out to Saemi, asking for a friendly meeting. Downstairs at the company she runs into Ji-young again. When Ji-young hears the chairman invited Saemi alone, panic hits her. She fears Saemi will expose her misdeeds. She skips lunch with her husband and rushes back. But the chairman only wants Saemi to persuade Myung-soo. He does not want Pearl to acknowledge the family publicly. A ruined name would be one thing, but family discord would be worse. Saemi promises to treat Myung-soo well, and to wait without end for his return. The chairman feels guilty seeing her sincerity, but still says their marriage is impossible. With things said so clearly, Saemi decides not to reveal Ji-young's deeds. It would not change the outcome anyway. Better to protect her father's factory. She believes the chairman will learn the truth eventually. Ji-young has been eavesdropping outside. She is relieved Saemi said nothing, but still wants Saemi to promise. Saemi admits her aunt by marriage has won, and she will keep their misdeeds secret.